If you want, you can also get a handful of games that equal like $20.
Jesus.
Well, that makes it even more fucking confusing.
I would just do one.
That.
Just do one.
Pretend that Chris doesn't talk.
Dang.
Hello and welcome to the GamBrew Podcast, episode 20 on December 18th, 2017. I'm your host, Ian Richard, and I'm here this week with Chris Reitz.
Hi.
Dan Rotz.
Hello.
And Alex Ryder.
Hey, what's up?
He's back. Yay.
Welcome back.
I don't want a lot for Christmas. Also something,
There is just one thing I'm
need,
sure.
and it's Alex Ryder.
Okay, that didn't
Damn
really...
straight
you can
it
really
is.
tell we went to music school.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
And happy Hanukkah, a Merry Festivus to all you others out there. This week in our first segment, we're going to talk about games that switched genres. And then in our second segment, we will talk about our favorite Christmas gaming memories. I should say famous holiday gaming memories. We're keeping this pan-religious, including non-religious peoples. And then we're going to close out the show today with another round of white elephant gift giving. But first, it's time for a beer. Chris, what are we drinking this week?
We're drinking some old Jubilation ale from Avery. And I was thinking about this when we got it. I really think they messed up in naming it. They really should have called it Very Christmas Ale. So it would have been a very Merry Christmas Ale.
Oh, God.
But they didn't. So it's very old, I guess.
You should
a very
send them a
old
letter.
Jubilation Ale.
Hey, I'm going to send Avery an email about this. Guys, listen.
Oh, Flava Ave?
No, not him. It's the brewing company.
Not the city manager of Harrisonburg.
That's a very inside joke. Very inside.
It's so far inside, we hardly even get it. So, Old Jubilation is an English strong ale, and it's 8.3% alcohol by volume, so not quite an IPA, but also not quite a light beer. And it's really nice. I think it's really nice. It's super rich.
It's yummy.
It is rich and malty.
It's definitely nice and seasonal because it's Christmas.
I feel like sometimes winter beers can get a little
Spicy.
a little too. No. I was gonna say a little bit too heavy.
Oh,
Everyone puts out a winter beer and just wants them to be, deep and earthy, and this is nice because it's got a ton of flavor, but it's not.
I wouldn't call it light though. I mean, I think it's
not light.
pretty thick.
yeah, it's pretty hefty. I attribute that mostly to holiday spices, though. Like whenever they put a bunch of different spices in it, it just makes beers feel heavy, even though they're not heavy.
And I'm picking up a lot of the smokiness of the barley.
I think it's also strange that a lot of winter beers are heavier, and especially around like Christmas or the holidays, you're eating so much. And that on top of like drinking just nonstop, it makes the nice Santa belly.
Nice. Maybe that's what they're going after.
I will argue if you're going to be sitting next to a nice warm fire at night, having a nice heavy beer like this is good. Keeps you warm.
If I wanted a warm fire at night, I'd have to set something in my apartment on fire. I don't think my landlord would appreciate that.
Well, you could just go to Netflix and
just
put on
the Yule Log.
Yeah.
Or on Steam, where did I see
on
it?
Steam? Steam has a Yule Log?
Yeah, for like $5.
It's like a
man,
Yule
I
Log
want that
simulator.
$5 Yule Log simulator.
There's a Yule Log on Netflix that I've legitimately put on before to just have a Yule Log.
I do that all the time.
A Christmas fireplace for $5.
Amber and I leave it on for the dogs when we go to work.
Oh my
Nice.
God, that's hilarious.
That's great.
This Christmas fireplace for $5. Why? You can rent it for $5.
Chris, it's
or
only
you can buy it
$5.
for
You should
$10.
totally buy it because you have to.
If you want to keep this fireplace, it's $10 and is not eligible for a refund.
Ah, boo.
What a dick.
It's like they know us.
Alex, to what you said, I always think like, aren't winter beers always a little bit heavier? Like whenever it's winter time, everybody always wants to drink heavy beers. When it's summertime, everybody wants to drink these light, foofy watermelon things.
Hey, don't shit on Hell or High Watermelon.
I just think that there has to be a certain point where you don't have to put that extra tablespoon of nutmeg in my beer. I don't
Well,
need
this
it.
beer actually doesn't
This
have
beer
that.
doesn't. Yeah, it's like it's almost like I'm not seeing any spices.
What,
By seeing I mean tasting.
Chris? What spices does it have?
None.
Doesn't have any.
Doesn't.
No flavor.
No spices, just a perfect blend of 5 specialty malts.
Well,
Oh yeah.
there you have it.
And as Lyle Cobb says at the Avery tap room, it's like a sexy sweater for your mouth.
Yes. That is a perfect description.
perfect.
That's
man.
good. Is that his name is Lyle Cobb?
Yeah, it's on their website. It's just says it's like a sexy sweater.
Lyle, you are a
Good job,
you are a
Lyle.
wordsmith, sir.
Speaking of all things sexy, Dan, what have you been playing this week?
Oh, I played and finished the Sexy Brutale, which was
Is that how you say that word?
the Sexy Brutale. It's not the Sexy Brutally. I mean, that's not.
I thought maybe Brutale or something
No,
like
it's-
that. Like, I don't know.
No, it's called the Sexy.
I'm not as learned as you are.
I don't talk English good. The
Read it, but I don't get it.
Well, the Sexy Brutale is it's a puzzle game that it's not really sexy. The Sexy Brutale is like this casino where in the beginning of the game you're at this casino and you have to stop people from being murdered by the staff. And to do that, you have to memorize their patterns of where they go, the things that they do, the things that the people who are going to murder them are going to do, and then do things to combat that by finding like either items in the rooms that can help it, or like hiding and stopping something from happening, turning
Yeah, it's
on
kind of
something.
got like a Clue the movie vibe going on.
Kind of. It's a little bit. It's much darker than. It's not funny, or there are some parts that are kind of funny, but I mean, it's not funny. Like it's pretty. The story is really good. Like I played it. I had a day off, so I started playing it, and I just didn't stop. You know, I just kind of kept going. So it was really good. I highly recommend it. It's not super expensive. It's not really long. I spent like maybe 5 hours on it, something like that. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's a
How
pretty.
much did it cost?
Let's see. Well, for me, it didn't cost anything because
Well,
was
it
in.
did. It did.
Well, it did, but it was in the Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle. Still waiting for a sponsorship check from them.
For the wait, in the like Yule thing or the actual?
No, that was in the one that we
was
got
last
for
month's, right?
this
Oh,
month. Yeah. So,
Oh yeah, December's.
yeah, December's Humble Bundle was in it, and I was like, I'd heard the name before, so I really wanted to listen to what was or see what people were talking about, and it was pretty good. Not long, good story, good gameplay, very simple but complicated. It was good.
Cool.
10 out of 10.
Chris, what about you, man?
Would play again.
I've been kind of stuck in a rut. I've been playing Destiny 2 and The Witcher 3. But I've also been using Tabletop Simulator and playing some card games online with Dan.
Yay.
Which has been a lot of fun. As well as some D&D with him on that.
That's right, you did.
Yeah, that was really fun.
And I got to tell you, Tabletop Simulator is it's got so many uses. And it's so versatile, and it's so great to see all these games that you can play on it with people that are across the country. Even it's so cool that you can do that.
Yeah, I would love to set up a night and do like a Settlers of Catan night with you guys. That would be
Catan?
incredible.
We could do that.
Catan.
Catan.
Well, Catan,
No, it's
because
Catan.
Catan
No, it doesn't.
would be like
doesn't
Katana,
rhyme
which
with
is starts with a
Dan.
K.
You say
It's
Catan, I say Catan. Let's call the whole thing off.
Catan.
Well,
How much did it cost? But yeah, Tabletop Simulator was really fun. We were playing some D&D, and I had never used Tabletop Simulator before. I didn't go through the tutorial or anything. And I was like, oh, I wonder what this flip button does. Maybe it turns the page and like flips over to something else in my journal or something. And nope, turns out the flip button actually flips the entire table.
Yeah, it does
everything.
the whole thing. So don't do it.
So just a word of caution to you.
I would say it's pretty intuitive. It makes like when you start using it, it kind of takes a couple minutes to get used to it. But then once you get it, and then it's really easy to use, and it's really cool. Yeah. And like you can play any game on it basically.
As long as you have like the table set up for it, because there's a lot of through Steam Workshop, a lot of people set up like pre-made things for games that exist. So I definitely still recommend going to get the games yourself, like, and play them with your real people, like in real life, because it's just cool. Like I will always play Boss Monster with my roommates because
for sure, Boss Monster's great. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Dan and I played some Munchkin. I think Ian played some Munchkin too.
I played some Munchkin over the past weekend, but not with you guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's really great, and it's really great to have like a room. I'm using air quotes right now. A room that you can be in with your friends and do that with, instead of like. Or like with D&D, we tried Skype before, and that didn't really work that well. But this really did a good job.
Yeah.
Yep. I just want to be in the room where it happens. Alex, what have you been doing, man?
No Hamilton jokes.
So I have been at Basic for a couple weeks.
Well, yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, tell us about all the games
Where
you played
have you
at
been?
Basic.
Who are you?
No technology at all
Oof.
for all of Basic. So I was kind of separated from the rest of the world, which was fine. It was funny. I did have a drill sergeant though, that there's a thing called CQ where there's a drill sergeant that is always in the barracks that just watches the barracks, and they have to spend the night there and make sure none of us do anything stupid. So one of our drill sergeants, who was way younger than me, got Destiny 2 on PlayStation and would bring his PlayStation in when he was on CQ and played in the CQ office. And so when I was doing my fire guard shift, all I heard was and I was like, damn it, I want to play. So now I'm playing Destiny 2.
Yay.
And
Didn't
thoughts?
he ask you if you wanted to play it?
He did, and then he closed the door in my face. But there's a lot of that. There's a lot of closing doors in your face and asking if you want a donut, putting a donut in your face, and then they take the donut away and say, no, you cannot have the donut.
Can't have my egg.
You can't have my egg. So Destiny 2 is fun. I'm enjoying that. I think I maybe have 2 hours of playing it under my belt. Because I haven't been home for that long, so looking forward to sinking my teeth into that.
Have you played a lot of shooters on your computer?
Other than Overwatch, no, not really.
What do you think of like the computer versus the console type of shooting?
Well, it's interesting, and this also kind of falls back on me coming right out of Basic and learning basic urban combat. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like in my mind, I want to approach first-person shooters differently than I have in the past, just because I understand some better concepts of how to like clear rooms now and how to go into a room and pick your sectors of fire a little better. And I also feel like in these first couple hours that I have played Destiny, I am way more restrained in my trigger happy tendencies. Okay. And so I'm much more picky about my shot selection.
It sounds like we should get you Rainbow Six, and we should all play Rainbow Six together.
Or Full Spectrum
should.
Warrior, if we really want to go
and
that way.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
funny.
that's true, or that.
I actually am starting to read Rainbow Six right now.
like the book?
The OG, the book.
I love that book so much. That's such a good Tom Clancy.
That the video
Rest
came from.
He was cool. But yeah, no, we should play Rainbow Six. That would be fun.
That would be sweet.
Yeah,
I'm down for
and
that.
I think it's not that expensive right now. I want to say it's like $20 to $30 for Rainbow Six at the moment.
Nice. Nice. No, yeah,
And then you guys will have to fill me in. I'm still all right. So being at Basic for so long, I'm a little confused about everything that's kind of going on in the world. I did see Star Wars. Sorry, Ian, I won't spoil that for you.
No spoilers.
But you guys will have to fill me in offline about Battlefront.
You don't want to hear about it right now because we could talk about it right now.
We don't have the time for that.
We gotta move
got
on,
time for that.
but that's a topic for another day.
That was the other game that, like, all during Basic, I'm like, all right, I got 2 things waiting for me in December. I got Destiny 2,
And then you
and
came
I got
back,
Battlefront 2.
and Battlefront was like a smoldering garbage heap, and you were like, "What happened here?"
Yeah, exactly. So
was so
you guys
good.
will, I need a debrief on that.
Yeah, we'll give you the lowdown. We'll take off our
Sounds
pants
good.
for you. Wait, is that what that means? Debrief?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, it is.
Oh, okay. All right, God, I'm going to do that right now. Hold on.
Dan, put your pants back on. So something that I really enjoyed this past week was a game called What Remains of Edith Finch, which
Heard of that.
oh my god, it was so good. Which was is a walking simulator, and it is incredible. The game is essentially a study in a bunch of different vignettes on death and how death affects a family. And so you basically, the whole setup of the game is you show up back at your childhood home after having left the house after a traumatic event, and you go through the rooms of your brothers and your sisters and your aunts and your uncles who have all died in sometimes fantastical, often very strange, and really it ends up being very touching ways. And what I found really interesting about it was that it was actually, like, as someone who's had at least one close run-in with death, it was really meaningful the way that they put those things together. So props to the makers of that game, props to especially the writers for putting that together. It was really incredible.
Nice. That's a walking simulator, you said, so lots of story.
Lots of story, walking simulator. There's not a whole lot of like gameplay to it. It's not even very explory at all. So like some walking simulators sort of give you an area to explore. It's basically a path that you walk through.
Gone Home was kind of a little bit explory, right?
Yeah, you could sort of go in one direction or the other. Gone Home was pretty tracked as well. But honestly, it doesn't matter. It's like reading a novel, or in this case, a bunch of short stories, really.
Nice.
And it was really, really great. It had me in tears by the end. So for anyone who's interested in a video game that's going to give you the feels, I would definitely recommend checking it out. I would say that if you're someone who's had like a recent death in the family or something like that if if you're looking for something cathartic where you know it's going to hit you, like, go ahead and do it. But if you're trying to stay away from that stuff, this is not the place to go for having a fun gaming time.
Don't do it.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
But I would recommend to everybody to check it out. It was super meaningful for me and explored some really difficult topics,
Nice.
including the death of an infant, which is really heavy and hard to do. But like, it actually handled it super artistically and very meaningfully, and
Nice.
and it was good.
How was it compared to Firewatch?
Better than Firewatch, I'd say. Significant,
Better, but like less more railroaded, like
more railroaded. Firewatch was, of all, like, between Gone Home, Edith Finch, and Firewatch, Firewatch I feel like was the most open. So this one is very much like there's a path, you follow the path. Which isn't to say there isn't some like super light puzzling and like finding of stuff in there, but it's basically all story, no gameplay, which was totally fine.
nice.
All right. We're ready to segue on to the next segue.
All right. So in our first segment, we're going to talk about games that switch genres somewhere through their development. So for an example of this, we can think about the World of Warcraft games, right? They started off as RTSs, that is real-time strategy games, and then they took World of Warcraft and they turned it into the World of Warcraft and turned it into an MMO, and it's a completely different genre. And we wanted to talk about different games that have done that and maybe why developers choose to change genres. So, guys, what are some other games that have changed genres kind of like in the middle of their life?
We should just go around and everybody say one real quick. I think that'd be fun.
You're fun.
I'm not fun, so I know you're lying.
So one of the ones that I was kind of thinking of is Zelda. So generally Zelda is an action-adventure game. It used to be 2D. Now it's 3D, but kind of the same idea.
Yeah.
And then there was Hyrule Warriors came out, and that was more of a hack and slash, like massive RPG-ish kind of game. And it was kind of different, but it was kind of cool that they did that to kind of see bigger battles in there.
Basically, they took Dynasty Warriors and shoved Zelda characters into it. And called it.
That's exactly what they did.
Like they've done that with a bunch of stuff. There's Gundam. They did like the Gundam Warriors one.
Did they really?
That's
I kind of
cool.
want to play that.
It was not good.
Oh,
Sorry.
Hyrule Warriors was supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah? I don't know.
From what
it's
I've
like
heard.
the whole Destiny Warriors thing
Dynasty.
is great. Like Destiny Warriors 4.
It's
Dynasty.
Dynasty.
What did I say?
Destiny Warrior.
Okay, it's a different game.
Murder Pilgrim.
Murder Pilgrim. Pilgrim's Journey Murder.
Destiny Warrior 4.
Anyway.
Dynasty Warriors 4 was my favorite. And I didn't really like any of them after that.
I played one of them. They were all...
kind of the same.
They're all
Someone's
basically
probably
the
going to be
same.
mad about this, but they're all kind of the same.
Yeah, no, they are. They are extremely
I feel
the
like
same.
Dynasty Warriors is a game that's way more fun when you're a little kid because basically Dynasty Warriors is all about just making you feel ridiculously powerful
Super
and like
OP.
save the world. Yeah. And
Until
as a
Lu
little
Bu comes
kid-
out, then you run the fuck away.
And as a little kid, that's like all you want in a game.
Yeah, I remember playing that like in a store somewhere when I was a little kid, not knowing exactly what I was doing, but I know I was kicking ass because people were
Exactly.
dying.
Because you had no idea. But it didn't matter. It was fine.
So you could say that the Dynasty Warriors games has been like in every genre, maybe.
So
wonder-
I would like to argue, and Dan, maybe you have something to say about this, but I would like to argue that Resident Evil has done some genre bending throughout its lifetime. Like it started as a very much a horror series, and then it sort of turned into an action / shooting series, and then it turned back into a horror series, which is kind of cool.
And that's very much what happened because during the because it started out as the top down. Or not top down. It was still 3D.
Fixed camera.
Yeah, but it
it
was
had tank
fixed camera.
controls
And like, I really want people to play the original one just because you need to. The scariest part of Resident Evil is that whenever something scary happens, you can't just like turn tail and run. You have to be like, oh, press right, turn around, press right, turn around. Now press forward to run the fuck away. And instead of like now you can just be like, oh, I'm just going to run this direction. It was really difficult to like try and escape things.
You would panic and just get stuck. Like you would freeze like you would when you actually got scared because the controls were obtuse enough that it was hard to figure out in a moment.
Yeah, but now they went from that to kind of the over-the-shoulder third-person stopping.
Action-ish?
Well, and
Shoot.
they kind of like pioneered that whole thing.
I think so. Well,
I would say that the Die Hard trilogy probably did third-person shooting before Resident Evil, but I don't quote me on that. I'm not sure.
Bringing it into the horror genre. I mean, Dead Space wouldn't have been there without that.
that's true. Dead Space wouldn't have. Evil Within, that's another third-person one. But
And like,
yeah, and then
no, and then.
and then it went into like Resident Evil 7 now, which is the first-person survival horror, almost VR experience because you could use the like PlayStation VR for it. That kind of went back to the original, more like slow, less shoosty, more explory and problem solving kind of stuff, but still pretty shoosty because it was first person, so easier to be shoosty.
Right, but it was kind of returning to its roots because 5 and 6 had really turned into action games with a little bit of horror flavor on there, and all the Umbrella was it Umbrella Corps stuff or like Resident Evil Revelations and Revelations 2?
Yeah.
They were pretty much like straight up shooters with a little bit of creepiness involved.
Yeah. And that's especially Resident Evil Giraffe. I mean, 6 was the look at the logo, totally a
It looks like
giraffe.
a giraffe.
But yeah, Resident Evil 6 definitely like the most shooty of all of the Resident Evils. I'm glad that 7 is like little bit back on track to what the series is supposed to be. But that's some pretty good genre change, I think, kind of changing with the times for that.
It's a straight up genre bend. One of the other big IPs to get many different kinds of games out of it, of course, is the Mario IP and the Mario family IP. We've seen Mario, obviously, in platformers, but we've also seen him in XCOM style strategy games. We've seen
with the Rabbids.
Yep, Mario versus Rabbids. We've seen him in RPGs. Trying to think if we've seen. There's no Mario shooters.
No, but there's sports games.
Well, there's
Mario
Super Mario
Sports.
Sunshine. He has that backpack that squirts stuff. That's kind of a shooter, right?
So
We've seen his brother with a
vacuum cleaner. Yeah, that's true.
That's the reverse shooting.
So the question that I want to ask is, what about Super Mario? What about Mario and the Mario family makes them good for changing genres?
Well, I think when you have such a good character, you can place him in any genre, and as long as you make a decent game around it, it's gonna work. You know, I mean, yeah, Mario. Well, apparently Mario's not a plumber, but that's different discussion. But that was his profession for a long time. But it doesn't mean that was all he was able to do.
He went to school for it, and then he just figured out he wanted to do something else. You know, but I don't know. I would argue that Super Mario doesn't really change genres, but he is in a lot of stuff. That doesn't constitute a genre change for me, because still Mario games are still the same kind of. Okay, that's not true, because over the original one was a left and right scrolling jumpy adventure, right? Mm-hmm. And then Super Mario 64, and then every Super Mario after that are like the Super Mario games.
They're still platformers.
Are still platformers. Yeah. So, but
they're just changing perspective.
Right, but I don't think. But is that really a genre change? He's in a lot of other stuff. But
yeah, I see what you're saying.
But is that really a change in genre if he's in more things?
I mean, I want to say that it is, because I feel like a game. You might have a point with Rabbids, Super Mario versus Rabbids, because it's a completely different play style, but it's also bringing in a completely different set of characters and kind of a different world and mashing them together. But with games and racing, Super Mario, Mario Kart games, in games take Mario Kart, for example, they're taking the whole Mario world, the Mushroom Kingdom, Peach, her friends, all the Koopas and the bad guys, and they're turning that world into something different. They're turning it into a racetrack. It's not like they're just smashing it together with something else, or plopping Mario down in StarCraft land and calling it Mario StarCraft. You know what I mean? They're taking the whole universe and making it into something different. So to me, it's a genre change, because they're keeping everything else except for the genre consistent.
Outrighteous has thinky face on.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Mario and Sonic and these big name characters are an exception. Mario is kind of the Chuck Norris of video games.
And we have an episode art.
It's like Mario makes whatever genre, he just conforms to whatever. The genre conforms to Mario. You can put Mario into any scenario and people are going to eat it up and love it. And it's going to be, and I think that the developers have also done a really good job of not screwing themselves over, and that they've done just a really good job of putting him in these different. I mean, who knew that go-karts with balloons tied onto the back of them would be such a hit? You put any other character in that, I don't know if it's going to be as fun as that cast of characters.
Do you remember Diddy Kong Racing? Did you ever play that?
I did.
Diddy Kong Racing. I also played, because I was a PlayStation guy growing up, I had Crash Bandicoot Racing as well.
Okay. How was
what was it?
Wait.
CRT? Is that what it was called? Crash Racing Team?
Yeah, Crash Team Racing, CTR.
Crash Team Racing, CTR. Yeah.
So would you say that is as memorable as Mario Kart, though? Like, would they stack up? Like, is it the same? I'm moving my hands up and down in a like levels manner for you who can't see what I'm doing.
Crash, I mean, to me personally, Crash is one of my favorite video game characters of all time. So nice. I'm always going to put Crash and those memories of me playing Crash pretty high up on my pedestal. But there were a lot of kids that didn't have PlayStations, that just had N64s or Segas and Dreamcasts, and
those poor Dreamcasts.
They tried
to be fair,
so hard.
The Dreamcast was pretty cool.
It was.
There were some good games.
So a couple of things. First of all, plopping Mario into any genre could totally make work. I agree with you. I think the next genre that Mario should conquer should be survival horror, a la Resident Evil 7 and the whole.
They already did that. That's Luigi's Mansion.
No,
Yes.
but like the
Dang.
whole. Is it really?
Yeah.
I mean, basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's
No.
yeah,
It
it's
is.
basically what it is.
I've never played that game. I was
You
going to make a
gotta
Resident
play it.
Evil
It's
pretty
7
fun.
joke, but whatever.
No, the entire game is the ghost. Like
And you're basically a Ghostbuster. It's great.
you're a Ghostbuster.
Okay, well, that's awesome, first of all. Second of all, when you're talking about Mario games just working because they're Mario games, there was a PC knockoff of Super Mario Kart for SNES called Wacky Wheels. Does anybody remember this?
No.
Okay, so Wacky Wheels was a Super Mario Kart knockoff for PC, where instead of playing Mario characters, it was just like random animals driving gold carts. And there was this whole thing with hedgehogs who were like, for some reason, they were all over the place and on the maps, and like you could collect them and shoot the hedgehogs at each other. It's like the powers that you picked up were hedgehogs, but you're like a moose driving around in a cart. And I played a ton of this game for no particular reason, but there are clones of Super Mario Kart out there, and it's a thing. Wacky Wheels.
Well, yeah, I mean,
look it up.
Diddy Kong Racing. Like, the only cool thing. I mean, Dan, did you play a lot of Diddy Kong Racing?
I played some, but it was like, I think the interesting thing about that game is that there was like some sort of story to it. You know, like there's like, this evil thing took over this island, and you have to go to all these different places and beat people in races and do stuff.
I was going to say the cool thing about that game was that you could pilot a plane.
Oh, that you could change vehicles and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I think there was like a plane, a hovercraft, and a cart.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are also a bunch of different IPs that have changed genre. So not just Mario, the Elder Scrolls went from a single player RPG to, of course, an MMO during the MMO craze.
I mean, it's still an MMO, but
yeah.
I would argue that, and I think this is what Dan's trying to say, is that the main product hasn't changed.
Yeah, it's still the same. So I want to give it
like Elder Scrolls 6 will be a first-person RPG.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Open world RPG.
Yeah.
So you're saying that's more of a spin-off.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So-
okay, I get it. So let's talk about Metroid and Metroid Prime then.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's what I wanted to.
change.
That's what I wanted to bring up because
And
that
I'm going
was.
to argue this too.
You would argue that one? Why would you argue that one?
Oh no! Hold on. Lay it out for us, Dan. Go Dan first, and then Chris, you can make your argument now.
Super Metroid and the Metroid games were side-scrolling. Explore, collect, upgrade, move on to the next thing. They changed that to be. It was similar, but they changed it to a first-person shooter. You still had to collect stuff and get upgrades, but it's like the whole perspective, your entire perspective changed. And this might lead to I have a question later in the thing for this too. So maybe Chris will be able to answer this. So what's your counterpoint there, Chris?
So I disagree. I think it's the same game, except that the perspective has changed. That's the only difference. The same core game mechanics are exactly the same. You're fighting monsters. You're collecting power-ups to power yourself up and unlock different areas of the map. It's still a Metroidvania game.
Okay.
Like it's
just from a different perspective.
Right.
Okay.
And in the same way that Ocarina of Time is the same core gameplay as Link to the Past.
Okay.
Yeah. Or Super Mario 64 is the same as the previous Super Mario games, just from a different perspective.
Okay.
I think that's true with the Super Mario games. I actually never played the Metroid Prime games, so
I loved the one on
Those
Game.
are so good.
I love Metroid Prime.
There are two of
Really
them
good.
on GameCube, and both are good.
I'm
Was
really
there two or three?
There were two. There was Metroid
There was that
Prime,
one, and then the one, the
Metroid
dark
Prime
one.
2, and then there was something that was for the Wii U. I think it was Metroid Other M.
I thought that came out on GameCube too.
I thought that was a DS title.
Hold on.
No.
In any case, I'm really hoping for some Metroid Prime remasters for Nintendo Switch. I think that would be incredible.
Could be a game that makes me buy a Switch.
They're coming out with a new Metroid Prime game for the Switch.
Metroid Prime 4 is coming out for Switch. So that does make me wonder about whether Metroid Prime 3 was a thing that existed or not, because you'd think they wouldn't skip it.
Let me research.
This is where we play the research music.
I gotta come up with some research
thinking
music.
Of Metroid Prime 2 Echoes was the one that was GameCube and Wii.
Yeah.
Metroid 3 Corruption was just Wii.
Got it.
Well, so that's interesting. So by that logic, like all the Super Marios, all the mainline Super Mario games have all been platformers. So Dan, your supposition is that once a game has been set in its genre, that never changes.
Well, yeah, and that's like the genre. So it's kind of hard but that's really hard to break away from. Like that's the whole, as Shakespeare would say, there's the rub. It's really difficult to break a character out of one section into another and just kind of keep going. You can't really do that very easily.
Right.
Just like you couldn't make Harry Potter a gritty crime drama, you know?
Well, you could.
You could,
and that would be kind of cool.
And it would, but it's also still Harry Potter. You know, it's still like, ooh, magic and wizards, man.
But yeah, so like it's still a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could.
It's just a gritty crime fantasy movie.
Man, I don't know. Now like I want to see or want to hear of an example of a game that's taken where like the first version of the game, whatever the game is, 1 is a platformer, and whatever the game is 2 is like an action RPG. I wanna find a game where this has changed. If anybody knows of one out there where they completely change genres from one game to the second.
The best example that I've heard is Resident Evil.
I mean, but that's more of like an arc over time where there was a direction that they were going and then they sort of decided to come back. They never like did a straight change because each of the titles evolved, you know. 2 was a little bit more actiony than 1, 3 was a little bit more actiony than 2, 4 was pretty action, and then 5 and 6 were whatever it was they are. Then 7 turned around and came back.
Question.
Yeah.
Alex, after Tony Hawk Underground came out, did they ever go back? Like, did they ever leave open world stuff after that?
I mean,
or did they stick to open world after that?
I wouldn't even call Tony Hawk Underground completely open world. I mean, I guess I would. I don't know. The whole thing with Tony Hawk Underground was that it went from you skating around and completing your objectives. So you had like a list of 10 objectives, and then the next game you get 15, and then the next game you get 20 objectives, and they just keep making more and more objectives or goals that you have to complete per game. And then to change it up, they decided to try and incorporate a storyline in it. And the story is that you are this unknown skater and you have to come up through the ranks and prove yourself. And so you have to come up from the underground and prove yourself as this world-class skateboarder. But they didn't tell the story very well. And so it didn't really work because you still had all of the Tony Hawk aspects of like, hey, do this combo. Hey, get this high score. Then you had to like, there was this was also the first Tony Hawk that you could like jump off your board and like run around.
Yeah.
And they had like goals that you had to do like off of your board. There was one where you had to like drive a car or a taxi cab or something around for like 2 minutes. It was like completely unskateboard related. And I think that I can't remember exactly what year, but there was a lot of other like stupid stuff like that. And I wonder if it was like Jackass related.
Probably.
Where like there was this whole like subculture of skateboarding, like being this like, oh, if you're a skateboarder, then you do all this other crazy stupid shit. And it's like, not really.
Interesting.
Some people did, but
Wasn't your a-hole friend like who like stabs you in the back in that one? Was his name like Sparrow or something like that?
no, he had a really annoying name, and his character was super annoying. What was
Here's
his
another
name?
question. We seem to have come to the conclusion that games don't really change genres; they just change perspectives. So, what about games?
Except unless they're like offshoots.
Unless they're offshoots, right? Which we're not considering to be a genre bend exactly. What about games that mash two different genres together? That like take one thing and another thing and just like squish it together and it works.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of successful examples of that.
Yeah, like what?
Well, the one Super Puzzle Fighter, which is
Dr. Mario plus Street Fighter.
basically, yeah, which that does pretty well. I think that's like as far as the as far as puzzle games go, that one's pretty darn popular.
Yes.
Another example
girlfriend
that
loves
comes to mind is Crypt of the Necrodancer. In case no one else, so this is a rhythm game combined with a dungeon crawl. And it is hilarious and awesome and great. So all of your actions, you have to time them to the song that's playing. And also there's a strong component of positioning in it. So you have to be in time, in the right place, doing the right thing at the right time to get the results you want. It's really cool. Smash up.
Smash 'em up.
What was the, was it Tobal? That was a fighter plus an RPG, like the first fighting RPG game where you're like punching dudes and then running around, but also an RPG.
What?
What? You have thoroughly confused us with whatever
Do you-
it is.
you
I'm
guys-
only thinking about Toblerones at
So
this
this
point.
is a PlayStation title. I think
chocolate
it's
and caramel.
Tobal number 1.
I only know of Mambo number 5. That's really the only one of those that I know of.
Okay, so Tobal number 1 was a fighting game that was smashed together with like a dungeon crawling RPG type thing. So you would run around and like pick up items, but then also like you'd rent a room and there would be a rat there and you'd have to like Tekken style fight the rat.
I think I understand.
I don't remember this.
I don't remember it, but I understand.
Yeah. Well, Dan, you played a game like this at some point.
I played. Are you talking about? Well, I mean, there was like the bouncer.
The Bouncer.
Yeah,
The
that one
Bouncer.
was kind of like you could unlock new moves as you level up. There's like an actual story. It's not just like my father is hosting this fighting competition and I
Right.
must defeat him. But first,
Yeah.
I have to defeat these 12 other dudes. And there's a loose story also.
So that fighting plus RPG thing has definitely been a smash up before.
all of the ones that I can think of that get close to wanting to be multiple genres are anything open world that have mini games in them.
Yeah.
And like the mini games, I'm thinking of them as different genres, but they really aren't. It's just like, it's basically, the mini games are almost like you've paused the rest of the game
And you go to
and you're
a
playing
different
another game for a minute,
Yeah.
but then you're going to go back into the normal game when you're done.
Right.
It's like playing Gwent in the middle of Witcher.
Right.
It's like you're playing a different game.
Do you think, I mean, we were talking about the Metroid and the Metroid Prime stuff. Do we think that the change of perspective constitutes a change of genre, or is it just a change of perspective?
I think that's just a change of perspective because that
What
doesn't
ab-
really
Sorry.
change a whole lot. Because, I mean, think about PUBG. They now have two different modes you can play on the computer, at least. There's the third-person mode and the first-person mode. Just by switching that, does it make it a different game by changing that perspective? Not really. It has one different aspect in that you can't mystically see around walls whenever you're just straight up against them. I saw a funny video of somebody who's like, him and his buddy are like pretending they're in PUBG. He just walks right up to a wall and just stands there with his face into it and is like, okay, looks like there's two guys there. One just got a pan. Okay, the other guys, all right, looks like they're walking away. And then the guy comes up behind him after he leaves. He just like goes up to the wall. He's just like looks at it and goes like, I don't know what this guy's talking about. And then like walks away. So that kind of weird third person out of body experience, that definitely makes it a different type of experience, but I don't know if it changes the genre of what it is.
As I recall, Resident Evil 6 was an over-the-shoulder game, and Resident Evil 7 was a first-person game, and those felt like very different experiences.
I've got a really obvious one that we completely missed. Fallout.
Whoa!
Fallout 2 to Fallout 3.
That is
That did change
the
genres.
genre change right there. Well,
No, no, really, it did. Because
It changed from a top-down isometric RPG, turn-based RPG,
Yeah,
to a
'cause it was
first-person
person.
to a first-person RPG.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and
good.
it's
There it
really
is.
and like that turn-based RPG stuff. I forgot about it until I played that free Fallout, like the one that we got a few months ago.
You're welcome.
And yeah, thank you. Chris is the king of free games. But the
I try.
he also needs like 700 hard drives. But but yeah, I tried playing that and I was like, oh shoot, I forgot. Like I have a turn limit. Like I can't do everything at once.
action
I have
points.
You have action points that you have to spend.
Which you have action points in Fallout 3, but
only in VATS. It's only in VATS that you have to use them.
Yeah.
That's a big one, and
It's a huge change.
That is actually
Another
a
one-
genre change.
Alex, yeah.
Okay.
Alex has played Fallout 3.
Yeah, I have. That is one of the few video games I've actually beat.
Nice.
Because the main story is like 3.5 hours long. Congratulations.
Longer than that.
No, I did a very large portion of all of the side quests.
Yeah.
And I beat the second expansion. I don't think I beat the third expansion.
The critical response to Fallout 3 in the GamBrew press is actually pretty positive. All the haters want to hate on Fallout 3, but we like it.
I love Fallout 3.
Yeah, that's what I said my favorite side quest is from. Yeah, bitches.
So, all right, let me bring up another one. I don't know if this is a complete genre bend, but it's kind of a different thing. Call of Duty, and then they eventually came out with Call of Duty Zombies, and that kind of became its own thing.
Okay. So it's still a first person shooter.
It's still a first person
Popularized
shooter.
horde mode, though.
But yeah, it popularized horde mode. It's kind of like a survivor strategy type thing.
Yeah. No, that kind of created a genre in and of itself. Like whenever those horde modes and like the zombies,
What was that?
round survival stuff.
Call of Duty World at War that had the first zombie mode.
Yep. Where you just had to get
and that comes from a game being taken on by multiple developers, because Call of Duty bounces back and forth between developers, and so this developer over here on the right hand side is going to think of something different to amplify or change this game to appease to the masses. But then this guy over here on the left is going to do something different to top what guy on the right is doing. And so that's how that kind of like came about as a new feature.
Interesting.
So I mean, if you take any of the games that we really like and you put that brand into another developer's hand, what happens to that game?
Yeah, I mean, that was the chance that Nintendo was taking when it handed Mario over to Ubisoft to do Mario Rabbids Kingdom, right? So, and that worked out, but certainly there have been failures there for sure. All right, well, that is it. That is it for segment 1. GamBrew listeners, if you know a game that's genre has truly changed throughout the course of it that isn't Fallout, send us an email, hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and let us know. And also let us know about our genre mashups that we forgot to mention. And here's the last thing I want to know. Which games do you think are ripe for a change in genre? Let us know by sending us an email at thegamebrew@gmail.com, or like I said, but hitting us up on the social medias. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll check in with the beer, and then we'll talk about our favorite holiday gaming memories, and then we will do our white elephant gift giving section. Stick with us.
I can't wait.
Yay.
I know, it's gonna be great. I'm so excited. Hello and welcome back to the second half of the GamBrew podcast.
Yes, that is what it's called.
Very climatic.
Podcast?
Is it?
I run podcast?
This is episode 20.
Who put the question
by
mark
show
in the
of hands?
teleprompter?
Hold on a second. By show of hands, how many of you thought we were going to make it to episode 20 when we started?
Just Chris. Chris is the only one who had faith in
Chris
us.
has faith.
I had faith.
And also Lauren mentioned that she was like, not me. I didn't think that. So also Lauren didn't think we were going to make it to episode 20. So I just want to say, good work, everybody. Well done. We're still here.
Hey, we did it.
We're still getting better. We're still growing. So now that
We're growers, not showers.
My wife didn't think we were actually doing this.
Wait, she thought it was a farce, the whole thing?
Yeah, the other night she went to sleep and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stay up for a little bit. She's like, all right, cool. And then she couldn't fall asleep and she like heard me talking upstairs and she's like, he's talking to Chris. That's why he's not in bed with me.
Oh, that's great. Your other wife.
My other.
So
I don't have one of those.
for our second half, because it's Christmas, because everybody's in the holiday
It's my
spirit.
Insert jingle bells.
Oh wait, I have something for this.
Oh,
You have
Get
something
'em?
for this? Okay, hold on. Oh, that's
Bottle caps.
It's beer bottle caps. It's very fitting.
if the Game Brew had a Santa Claus, he would deliver beer and sound like bottle caps. That is
And
for
look
sure.
like Chris, probably. I
And
think.
probably look like.
Hey, thanks.
No, yeah, it's a good,
I mean, it's the beer. It's the beer.
very attractive saint.
Chris is kind of the video game Santa Claus.
He kind of is.
I do throw around games a lot.
So being that we're all in the holiday spirit, we wanted to talk about some of our favorite holiday gaming memories, whether it was with our families or just with one loved one sitting beside us. We wanted to talk about the things that we remember from gaming past. So, Chris, I want to go to you first because you have a story about you, and then you have a story about our friend Bob that I think is great.
So I want to talk about Bob first. I was talking to him about this last night while we were playing some Destiny. I was like, "Hey Bob, do you have any stories from your gaming past?" And he told me about his Super Nintendo experience. So he was a young Bob, and his
young Bob.
he started opening presents, and they were all these Super Nintendo games. And he was like, once he finished opening all of them, he got really upset, and he turned to his mom. And he's got a very sweet mom. And he turned to her and he said, "Mom, Santa doesn't know that I don't have a Super Nintendo." It was all like so sad.
Oh no! That's
And his
awful.
mom apparently told him to open the big one, and then he got really happy.
That is so good.
It's great.
That's hilarious.
Mom didn't know
Santa
that I
doesn't
didn't have a
know I
Super
don't have a
Nintendo.
Super Nintendo.
Oh man,
Poor guy.
That's awesome.
my story is not as exciting. One of my favorites was I snuck down early one Christmas morning to see if I'd asked, and I'd been really wanting an Xbox. This is the original Xbox, not the Xbox One, because that'd be kind of weird.
Yeah, the one that was black and had the green circle in the middle.
But yeah, the black one with the circle in the middle.
Yeah,
and
the one that was the size
you
of a
could
small
load
house.
MP3s on it. Yeah,
and the controller was the size of a child's head.
Okay,
It was.
I loved that controller. I think that they should still make
This
that
isn't
controller.
your story, Ian.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, back off. Jeez.
So I was trying to find. I was hoping to see if Santa brought me this Xbox, and I snuck it down, and I was all creepy and sneaky, and everyone was still asleep in the house, and I just had to make sure, and it was there. And I plugged it in briefly.
Wait, you opened it up?
You opened the present and plugged it in?
It was so my parents were big about. Santa was really big about making sure that the presents were ready to go in the morning when we went down there.
Got it.
I plugged it in.
Oh,
made
so
sure
it had like a
worked and
bow
everything.
on it already or something.
Yeah, yeah.
see.
So it was it didn't look packaged. Like it was.
Got it.
It wasn't in a box. It was
Got
it was ready to go. So it looked.
Gotcha.
You know,
Do you still you still have an Xbox, right?
the original one.
No. I mean, but you still have an Xbox in your house.
I have an Xbox One. Yeah,
Do you did you ever switch teams and go play with the PlayStation people?
I do have a PS4. Yeah, that. And I won a PS2 in high school. So I was a Nintendo person first. So, and then I went to Xbox. I got a PS2 for free in high school they did this thing after prom my junior year where they had like a lock-in and they gave prizes every hour, and I won a PS2, which was awesome.
That's like a really good prize for a high school.
Yeah,
I want a
so
George
that was my
Foreman
first
grill.
PlayStation. What?
George Foreman, almost as good as an Xbox.
Dude, that's...
You know
No,
what I
it's
won? A lot of crippling depression from my not winning anything. How about that?
Speaking of crippling depression, Dad, tell us about your Christmas experiences.
Hey. That's not, no, there are better experiences than that. Well, the one thing, because, I mean, the Rott's household has been a video game centric place for a long time. So I don't think there's any one time that I think of like, oh, I got this video game and that was the coolest thing that's ever happened. But I think the cool thing is more kind of what happened because of that. Because we didn't really buy video games most of the time. It usually happened during Christmas time. You get like the N64, and what's the first thing you do when you get the N64 on Christmas is you plug it in and you start
play some
playing
Super
it,
Mario.
right?
Of course.
Yeah. So what happened over time is that as new systems come out and like we get new games or we get new video game consoles, every Christmas it just becomes kind of a tradition that once we open all the presents, then me and my brother and my dad just go play video games for the rest of the day, because it's like we have the day off, just kind of sit around in our pajamas playing the new video games we just got. And then me and Bradley would, my brother Brad would, say, it's like, okay, so I'm going to play this for a little bit. Then you can come in, you play this for a little bit. And then we'll trade off. We can play that for a little bit. And then you play this for a little bit. And then mom will probably want us to go eat dinner. So we'll do that. And then we'll go play this for a little bit.
Do your parents still buy you games? And this is a
think-
question to everyone.
I think the last time my parents... I buy games for my parents now, which is a little flipped.
That's awesome.
My
Flipped it a
parents
little bit.
actually like never really bought us video games. It wasn't that they were against video games. They just thought that it was a thing that if we wanted to do, we should invest in ourselves. So they would pay us for doing chores if we went out of our way to do them. And my brother and I would save up a bunch of money and then buy a video game, which was always a really fun and exciting day. One of my gaming memories, it's funny, Dan does a lot of tabletop gaming these days, but actually when I was a kid growing up, I was a big tabletop gamer. Every Christmas and every summer, my family would get together, and me and all of my cousins, and I have huge families on both sides, we would all play the White Wolf tabletop game. So anybody who played Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines knows that Vampire the Masquerade was a tabletop game first by White Wolf Publishing Company. So we played a bunch of Vampire. We'd play Mage, The Awakening, which was my personal favorite. And we'd have a ton of fun with those. And we actually, one year we did like the free form kind of like improv-y LARP version of that. So do you guys know what LARPing is?
I do know what LARPing is.
But explain it to our audience.
Okay. So for those of you
know exactly
how
they gotta know
nerdy
what
I
you
am,
did.
yeah.
Show them what you did.
So LARPing is like if you played a tabletop RPG, so Dungeons and Dragons or Vampire the Masquerade or whatever, but instead of sitting around a table doing it, you used the space that you were in as your play space, and you used yourself as your character. So you actually pretended to be your character, and you would walk around and have conversations and pretend to be yourself, and it was really a really interesting experience. I don't know that I would get into it now. I think sitting around a table is probably the way for me to do it, but LARPing is a thing, and it was fun.
I've never done that. I kind of want to.
You would be good at it, Dan. You would be good.
I would be
Dan
good
would
at
be
it,
real
but I
good
am
at
also an actor, so that makes it much easier.
Thespian.
Excuse me. Well, technically, I do like other women, so.
No,
wait, no, you
no.
said thespian. I'm sorry, that's a different thing.
Thespian.
Alex, you got any holiday gaming memories that you want to share that are just covered with nutmeg and mistletoe?
Yeah, this was my introduction to gaming was on a PC, and it was playing Doom.
What?
That was one of the first video games I ever played. And I remember sneaking upstairs to my cousin's room during Christmas Eve while everyone else was downstairs eating cookies and drinking the eggnog. And we were blowing up some Martian zombies. And my mom came upstairs one time and saw what we were doing and was like, "What are you doing?"
I also remember now that Alex was just talking about that. I remember a couple years ago when we were in college. We both live in Maryland, so we're pretty close together. And I remember him being like, he had just gotten Call of Duty World at War for Christmas, right? Mm-hmm. And he called me over. He was like, "Dude, you gotta play this zombie thing with me." I was like, "What are you talking about? What zombie thing?" And we came over and played some Nazi zombies.
I love
that was
Nazi
the first
zombies,
time.
dude.
It was
Nazi
great.
zombies.
You know what?
Dude, I
We played
still
it
love
so
Nazi
good.
zombies.
I'm having like a flashback just now. I actually played Civilization 2 back in the day over Christmas breaks. Whoa,
Civ
that was
2,
weird.
nice.
Yeah, on my uncle's computer. Whew.
Christmas break was also the notorious like 24-hour Gears of War.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lock ourselves in the apartment and
Cruise through it.
close all the shades. Be creepers.
That's awesome.
You know, so I have this distinct memory. I think it was Mortal Kombat 4. I think that's what it is. Okay, so you go visit relatives around the holidays.
Yeah.
Because it's what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you go visit relatives around the holidays. It's my favorite part of the holidays. But whenever I was a kid, we would go to my aunt and uncle's house, and my cousins they were a little bit older. There's like one cousin's much older than I am, and his younger brother is maybe like 5 years older than me. And I remember distinctly us sneaking up to his room and going on his computer and playing Mortal Kombat 4, I think it was. And I was like 7. So I was just like, oh, like, you're beating somebody. I'm like, oh, this is this is really cool.
I'm watching the fatalities right now. I'm just imagining them as a
And it's
7-year-old.
just like,
They're great.
I think that was my first it's Mortal Kombat kind of thing, where I was just like, oh man, this is really cool, but also I shouldn't be playing this right now
Because it's rated mature.
Rated M for mature.
That's great.
So for me, the other staples were all on Super Nintendo. Paperboy.
Paperboy, of
Nice.
course.
That's a good
Classic.
All of Super Mario. What would that be? Super Mario 3? Super Mario 2. Those were SNES, right?
Yeah, 3 was NES. The first SNES one was Super Mario.
Okay. So yeah, Super Mario and then Star Fox.
Yeah, of course.
Classic.
Star Fox was so
Yeah,
much fun.
that was classic.
All right.
Good story, Alex.
Well,
Good times.
Yeah, GamBrew listeners,
Good times.
send us a message. Send us a Christmas card. Address it to the North Pole, and in there, tell us exactly.
No, you know what? I'm just gonna give him your home address, Ian. Okay, you ready? Everybody,
ahead.
listen. It's no, I should. Okay, that's fine. I'll stop.
But write your favorite holiday gaming memory down. Send it to us at thegambrew@gmail.com. We'll read it. It'll probably come in a little bit after Christmas. We can talk about it. It'll be super fun. You can also send it to us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Game Brew. We are going to go now to our white elephant gift giving section, which I am so excited about.
Ching 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 ching
So,
ching
in
ching.
case-
Are we going into?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
Hold on. There's a couple things here.
Yay!
So first of all, we tried to do White Elephant game giving earlier in the year, but we didn't really do it right. It wasn't actually White Elephant game giving. It was just like, hey, we forced a game on another
It was
person.
more
It was
Secret
great.
Santa.
Yeah, it was more Secret Santa. So this time around, we're actually going to do the White Elephant stuff. So the rules are that when it's your turn, you can either pick a game from the pile of unopened games, or you can steal a game from somebody else. If someone steals a game from you, then obviously you need to get another gift by either taking it from the pile or stealing it from somebody else. You can't steal back a game that's just stolen from you, and once a game has been stolen 3 times, that's it. It doesn't move anymore. It's there.
Oh, let's do 2 times. Let's do since we only have 5.
Yeah, we only have 5.
Okay, so we'll just do 2 times. Alex,
Alex is the
you
Ent.
are the Ent. So look
at him
you're
go.
green. Whatever you got, everybody is green.
Look at you go, Chris. You kind of water.
Look at me go. I'm just a bag.
Are you just a coin? Are you just a coin purse?
I'm just a bag.
Wait,
He's just a sack.
I'm
He's
just a
sack.
wait.
sad sack.
hold on.
Did you choose Alex as the Ent because he's tall?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, it's hilarious. The present that's in front of you right now is the gift that you brought to the gift giving people. In case you're listening to the podcast, this is going to be weird for me to host, but we are in
Deal with it.
We are in Tabletop Simulator right now, so we're sort of in a virtual space together, which is super fun. So we're going to roll to see who gets to choose the present first. So, Chris, why don't you go ahead and roll first?
In classic D&D style, it is a
It
D20.
is a D20, yes. A 5.
five.
Good
Chris,
job.
That's a
All right.
5. It
Chris-
misses.
Chris,
Roll for damage. Wait,
Chris, roll for Alex, please.
that
Try
was-
that again.
that was terrible.
There we go. That was
Oh, that's a 1. That's a critical fail.
You
I'm sorry,
shoot
Alex.
yourself in the foot.
You suck.
I'm gonna roll.
You suck.
Oh shit.
Oh, and
Yeah, see, that's
it's-
the problem with that is because it
And it's a 16.
no re-roll
What?
it. Re-roll
All
it.
right.
Fell off the table. Re-roll it. Don't be so vigorous.
Oh,
that's a critical
Oh, it's a
fail
1.
also. All right,
dude,
here we go.
This is why you don't want to play D&D with us. A 15.
Dan got a 15.
All right, so Dan, you get to pick first.
Okay, I'm going to pick my present. No, I'm just kidding. I am going to pick the blue one.
Yay! Dan opens my present. So,
Okay, so I open the present.
and it reveals.
Do I have to roll anything to see what's inside?
No, go to Steam. Go to
Perception check.
Everybody go to Steam.
Okay. I can't really do that right
Yeah,
now.
I can't really go to Steam either. Strangely enough.
Okay, I'll go.
Tell
to
me
Steam
what it is.
for
It's
and then
called.
It's fine.
It's called Jettomero, or yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay.
And it is a game about a giant stompy robot who is
a big fan of that.
who is super clumsy, but he's trying to save the human race. But he's also like way bigger than anything, so he ends up doing more damage than good.
That sounds like a great game.
And I'm super excited for whoever gets to play it because I just
Have you played
no,
it?
I haven't played it, but everything about it seems like something I would love. So
It looks so silly.
it looks very silly.
That does look very
It's supposed to
silly.
be super fun and like not serious at all, but great.
Ooh, that art style is like beautiful.
Yeah. Jettomero,
those.
hero of the
That's-
universe.
Okay.
That looks awesome.
Play as a giant, indestructible, and incredibly clumsy robot.
Right, so blue, I have
has
Jettomero.
blue.
I'm going to put it on my head. Oh, didn't work.
No, you're
All
not.
right, no, you're not. All right, so let's see who rolled the next highest one.
That was me.
All right, so actually
Roll
let's
a
let's go in. Let's go in order now. So Alex, why don't you go?
All right. I'm going to choose the pink box.
Oh, that's mine.
It's Dan's.
Okay, so the game which you have chosen is I Am Bread.
Jesus Christ.
In this game, you play a sentient piece of bread, which his only desire is get to the toaster and become a perfect piece of toast.
So this is kind of like QWOP, right?
It's
Oh my
it's
God.
basically QWOP because you control like all the corners of the bread and you have to move it. It's basically the funniest looking, but also like it's so fun to play.
I'm very excited about this.
This looks ridiculous.
Oh God, I Am Bread. It's a fun game. I totally recommend it if you have not played it. Also, just because the title is the best.
It's
Wow.
yeah, this is absurd. We're off to a great start.
I
Okay.
think the actual story is that you like you're seeing a psychiatrist because you think
That
you're
you're
a person
bread?
who thinks he's a loaf of bread
Oh my
or
God.
something like that.
That's terrifying. All right, Chris, you're up.
Loaf toast.
I
Tales of a little fella.
guess I'm gonna take Alex's game.
You're going to take my
You're gonna
game?
take I Am Bread? Oh no, you're taking the
No,
green
no,
game.
I'm taking green.
Okay,
Green,
so he's
sorry.
opening green.
All right. So I don't know how I did this, but I found a copy of Prey.
Fuck yeah!
Wait,
I've been
like
wanting to play Prey for a while.
wait, is it the new Prey or the first
The
Prey?
new Prey.
Fuck yeah!
shit.
The new Prey. I found it for like 75% off.
Oh
Dude,
shit!
that's
in
awesome.
an undisclosed
Fuck yeah.
location.
That's
Hell
awesome.
yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna be playing some Prey.
I hope-
Hopefully.
This is something that I have personal attachment to
Oh yeah.
because I helped mix some of the marketing trailers
Oh shit!
for this for the Video Game Awards back in November of last year.
Awesome.
Dude, that's awesome.
That's so cool.
And then a couple other gameplay trailers that came out after that as well.
Alex, stop being so cool.
Yeah,
man.
you're so
Like,
cool.
just cut it out.
like-
be so cool?
All right.
So I really want to like the mimic matter just seems like a really, really cool game function. I want to see how it actually like.
Yeah.
How it
So
actually
I
pans
hope
out.
you have fun
Cool.
with that.
All right. Well, it's my turn, and I'm gonna steal Prey from Chris and put it in front of me. So suck it. So that means that Chris gets to choose whether he wants to steal or open the final empty or the final unopened package.
I'm gonna open.
You're gonna
the
open.
final
Don't
package.
open your own package.
No, I'm gonna open my own package because fuck you. All right, I bought Okami.
So Okami
So
is
Okami just got released on PC.
yes. The HD remake.
It's a game where you play as this dog, or maybe a wolf, a great spirit wolf.
Spirit Wolf. Yeah.
In a type of painted Japanese world, and basically solve puzzles with your paintbrush.
That sounds awesome.
It is. I've been wanting to play Okami for probably a decade at this point.
So the only thing left to do now is Dan. Since you went first, you have the option to steal from anybody on the board because nothing has been taken twice.
You're right. I do. I'm going to take this Prey and I'm just going to put your game right back in front of you.
This game
there. Or
goes
I guess I put that right
in the middle.
right?
So yeah, now I don't have a thing. So I'm actually going to steal Okami from Chris. So Chris gets to do a thing.
You guys are the worst.
Well, actually, Chris, so you could steal Prey back and and then no one else could steal Prey because that's 2 times. And then we don't have the games that we...
Well, no, it's been stolen twice.
No, you can only steal it twice.
So it's been stolen once. It's been owned twice.
Ah, got it.
So the decision point is up to Chris now.
Well, I kind of want to play Prey, so.
And then I will take the game back that I had gotten first.
Yay! All right. So that's it, everybody. White Elephant Gaming. Why doesn't everybody just sign off real quick by telling us what game they got?
Oh, I got the robot stompy one.
Jettomero, Hero of the Universe.
Jettomero robot stompy version.
Hero of the Universe, Dan.
Hero of the robot Dan universe.
Can I just say how perfect it is that the murder robot got the murder robot for Christmas?
That's true. I did get a murder robot.
He's not
Wait,
a
I'm
murder
not a
robot.
murder
He's
robot.
trying to not be a murder robot.
I am.
He's
Listen,
trying to not be.
I'm going to support groups that's it's MRA, Murder Robots Anonymous. I actually have my 2-day chip. I've been going for about 6 months, but I have my 2-day chip finally. So
proud of you.
So
Finally.
can I ask, how is T1000 doing? Is he kind of getting over his stuff? I know it was
he's
rough for
good.
him there,
I
yeah.
mean, it helps that he's only a disembodied thumbs up now,
Right.
you know? But like, you know, he's doing okay. He's got ups and downs, ups and downs.
yeah.
You know what? He makes really good scones though. He brings them to every meeting.
Isn't that
Would you like to buy a scone?
Well, he doesn't. Well, he's just a disembodied hand, so he doesn't really say anything. But
Got it.
You know.
Got it. Yeah. Well, he didn't really say anything in the movie either, so I think that's fine. Alex, what do you got?
I am bread.
I am.
I am Groot.
I am.
Which is great because he's an ant right now. And Chris, what are you rocking?
What?
What are you rocking, man? What do you got there?
What am I whacking?
What are you rocking?
I am whacking Prey.
Prey, and I am walking away with Okami HD. So excited. All right. Well, that is it for our episode today, folks. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you for listening. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody out there.
Hey,
what?
And we're gonna have to put in 12 hours in this.
Is that the deal? We're putting 12 hours on our games?
Wait, I thought. I'm pretty sure it's just gifts. It's not. There's no requirements.
Can you play I Am Bread for 12 hours?
Maybe you could. I have no idea.
Hey, if I had to play Counter-Strike Go for 12 hours, you can play I Am Bread for 12 hours. All right.
All right. There's a notice for I Am Bread on Steam, and it's you need a controller to get a real rise out of the game.
Bread puns.
Oh man, that's bad.
Bread puns.
That's bad. All right, we're going out in the puns. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye,
Goodbye,
everybody.
everybody.
Tune in 2 weeks from now. Thanks a lot. See you later. This is the ghost of Christmas future. Don't be greedy fucks.
Is that all you have to say to us? Just so you're aware, there's a lot of stuff going on behind me right now. So there's gonna be some loudness I have to cut out of my stuff. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna be quiet for a little bit. If you want to do if you want to do your thing into the next section, if we want to pause for just a minute, that would be okay too.
What's going on?
Just how many? 50 more seconds.
They're gonna like fire off 50 rounds.
Well, let's play some Gwent.
No,
Time for round of Gwent. Yes.
Chimpanzee riding on a Segway. Chimpanzee riding on a Segway. Chimpanzee riding on a Segway. Bow, 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 bow.
What is that from?
It's from Chimpanzee riding on a Segway.
Yeah.
Clearly.